that is the basic whole premise of sales, is find somebody who needs, wants, and can afford your product. If they need and want it but can't afford it, why are you talking to them? I hate to sound crass, but really, why? All you're doing now is wasting your time and their time. And let's face it, time is the most precious commodity that we have because we can't make it, remanufacture, or take it back. We're all here for a certain limited amount of time. And the less we waste it, the more we get to use it for our own benefits, right? So the first thing is okay, can they afford my product? Yes. Do they need my product? And there's a big difference between need and want. I'm sure you know that. You're going to be finding your perfect client. You know, I may want a Lamborghini, but I need a car. So there's that big, I can't afford a Lamborghini, but I could probably afford a nice car.
So you're a smart business committed to innovation, to service and to modern marketing. And you're asking, what's next? Wondering how you can become even more innovative. My name is Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and this is the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice, and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Hi innovators, it's great to be back. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. I'm really stoked to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest today, Joe Da Silva, a business and sales professional, a speaker, trainer and coach, and host of the Joe Da Silva podcast for your business and personal success. Joe and I had a lot of fun discussing how to make sales not icky. And hint, it's about asking questions and understanding your client's needs and wants. We talked about how to reframe no so that it is not a personal rejection. And Joe shared with us his 5-step sales process. Without further ado then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Joe Da Silva. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today, all the way from Vancouver in Canada, Joe Da Silva, who's a business and sales professional. He's a speaker, a trainer and a coach, and he also has his own podcast, the Joe Da Silva Podcast, I think it's called. So welcome to the podcast, Joe.
Thank you very much, Jürgen.
It's a privilege to have you as a guest. Now, Sheila Sutherland, who was on episode 119, introduced me to Joe and suggested we interview you on the podcast. So a big hello to Sheila.
Yeah, no kidding. Big hello, Sheila.
Yeah. Now, I understand that you started your sales career in 1974, which is quite a while ago, by selling encyclopedias door to door. So that's quite an interesting journey. And I know you've got a lot of experience over that time and lots of programs and advice and training workshops and seminars that you share with people. So I'm really looking forward to today's interview.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, Jürgen. I've never spoken to anyone basically across the world and the globe from me.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to be a first. So before we start talking about sales and all the things people find difficult about sales, so let's find out a little bit more about your background. So is sales something you wanted to do when you were a young child?
Well, I actually fell into it quite by accident, Jürgen, and it has to do with that. I guess Sheila told you about 1974. That kind of puts me in a certain age bracket and selling encyclopedias. And for those of you listeners who are of younger, just think of Wikipedia in a printed format. And that's what an encyclopedia is. And what had happened, Jürgen, is when I left high school, I had made a deal with my parents. They would front my tuition, but I had to buy my own books to get into the University of British Columbia out here in Vancouver. So I decided to take this job as a encyclopedia door-to-door salesperson, and they shipped me off to Calgary which is over in Alberta, the province next door to us, to do this. And it was 100% commission. So there was no base or anything. You basically, if you wanted to eat, you had to sell. If you wanted to live somewhere, you had to sell, because everything you had to pay for, but it had to come from your success in the field. And I went out and I found the first 3-4 days quite frustrating. I didn't sell anything, and
lots of no's.
Yeah, a lot of no's. And I decided, okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And I took the script that they had, and by the way, I'm very anti-script, and I changed things around, and I decided to do my own little, shall we say, program, my very first program on the go, and decided to do it completely different. And lo and behold, to me, started right away the next day when I decided to change everything around, I started to have some success. And the success just built from there. And at the end of the summer, not only did I have enough for the books, but I also had enough for tuition. And that included also all my living expenses while I was in Calgary selling encyclopedias. I went into academia at UBC, and I found out, you know what? I'm not having a lot of fun in academia.
Yeah.
I was having a heck of a lot more fun in Calgary. So let me see what the business world has got for me. And I went out and I started to do real estate, and from there I went into something else, and from there and I decided, okay, and I've been doing this now for 40 plus years. And about 5 years ago, I decided I'd had enough of corporate life. There's only so much you can fly, so many strange beds you can sleep in before you get sick and tired of it. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to do what I really want to do now. I want to give my experience and shorten everybody's learning curve to get to the position I was in and have a lot more fun doing it. And that's when I opened up the high-rise concept, which is what my program's known as. And I do market it under my own name, but the program itself is called the high-rise concept.
Okay.
And here we are.
Yeah. So just for the younger generation of people out there, I don't know what it's like over in Canada or in the US, but certainly here in Australia, we get people coming around door to door trying to sell energy programs or mainly energy programs or solar energy panels and so on. So that and they are often students. And I suspect it's the same deal, that it's 100% commission, so whatever sales they make. And I use a story with that in terms of a program I do around identifying your ideal client, because I imagine the poor people doing that, knocking on every door that they can find, not knowing whether the person actually needs or wants what they're offering. So in terms of a sales process and learning sales, that definitely is the school of hard knocks, isn't it?
Oh, it is absolutely the school of hard knocks. It's tough because today's consumer has become a lot more knowledgeable, Jürgen, and they've already got the no ready even before you knock on the door.
Yeah, that's right. So tell us a little bit more then about some of the learnings that you took out of that first experience and how you then applied those in your corporate career.
Well, one of the very first things I learned, and it's something that I teach, Jürgen, is that whole concept of the no. That's the number one thing that people really get hung up on in our profession, is the fact that they hear so many no's that they just become numb to it. And when you become numb to the no, part of your whole psyche changes. You no longer have that drive. You no longer have that motivation to keep going, because you know all you're going to get is another no. One of the first things I did in Calgary was actually, because the first 3-4 days, all I got was no's, is I started to go after the no. And I know that sounds really strange, but once you change your whole mindset that you go after the no, it changes your complete attitude about how you're going to present yourself to the next client, even though you've just had maybe 10 or 11 no's. And what I did in Calgary is I set a target for no's. And once I reached that target, I would stop. What they do is they drop you off in a neighborhood and then they'd come back, 4 or 5 hours later and pick you up from the neighborhood, and you were done for the day. But what I did is I decided on day 5 or 6 is, all right, I'm going to go for 20 no's. As soon as I get 20 no's, the next thing I'm going to do is find a coffee shop or a bakery or something and sit down and have myself a coffee or a tea and relax until they pick me up. I've done my no's.
Yeah.
So what I started with was 20. Then the first no I got is I went down to 19. And I actually had a piece of paper that I would take out and scratch off the previous number and then I've only got 16 to go now. Oh, wow, I've only got 12 to go now. Man, 9 more and I get to go have my coffee. 6 more. And you get down to 3 and you show up and you knock on the door and they say no and you say, thank you very much. And as you're leaving, they're looking at you going, why are you so happy? I just told you no. Long story, don't have time, got to get 2 more. And that's that's what I teach today. Part of my program is look, don't let the no get you down. And you always count down from your high number to your low number. Because if you start at the low number, you go, that's 16. But if you go down, you go, I only need 4.
Yeah.
So it's what you focus on is what makes it important. And that was one of the major lessons that I just came up with on my own, selling encyclopedias door to door, is go for the no.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I really like about that. And the first thing, we all tend to take no as rejection, and we take it a little bit personally. And as you say, it kind of gets depressing. So if you turn that around and, there's another no, I'm one step closer to having my reward.
Exactly.
It changes your whole mindset and motivational level. And the second thing is it probably changes your entire demeanor. Like you said in the example where people are kind of wondering why you're so happy that they said no.
Exactly. I had a... Go ahead, Jürgen, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that by changing your whole demeanor and your approach, you probably have a much higher chance of succeeding in selling something than if you essentially projecting that fear of rejection. That's exactly it. I mean, if we take a look at it, 93% of communication is nonverbal. Only 7% is actually words. 93% are nonverbal, and that's from your tonality and your body language. If you're starting to feel rejected, then it's not only going to show with your tonality, but your whole body language is going to show that you're being rejected. And the last thing a person wants to talk to with is someone who's down and out and just grumpy and everything else. So we have to be very cognizant of what our body is actually telling the client, because they're reading your body before you even say a single word. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I use the example of when a police officer pulls you over and gives you a speeding ticket. Are they giving you a speeding ticket, or are they giving the role that you're playing at that time a speeding ticket, which is a bad driver? They're not personally coming to you and saying, Jürgen Strauss, you're an incredible bad human being. Here is a ticket. They're saying to you, you were driving a little quick and I'm going to have to give you a ticket. So they're attacking you as the role of a driver. They're not attacking you as a person. And that's what happens in sales. When we get rejected, we think they're attacking us as human beings, and they're not. What they're doing is saying, I don't have any need or want for your product at this time, and I'm just not interested in your product, or I can't afford your product. They're not attacking you as a human being. And that's something that we go over in the program, is trying to distinguish and make that a complete break as to the role you're playing versus you as an individual. Nobody ever attacks you as the individual. They only attack your role that you're playing at that time.
Yeah, that's a really, really smart approach to doing that and getting to the point of not taking no as a rejection. I mean, it's just feedback, isn't it? And you touched on something there that I'm sure your program covers, and I'd like to explore a little bit more, and that's understanding, when you go into a sales conversation, beginning with, is this person my ideal client, if you like? Is this person in need of what I'm selling? And is what I'm selling the right fit for them? So talk to us a little bit about those things.
Certainly. Well, the first step in any so-called sales funnel, or whatever you want to call it, is you have to find a person that either needs, wants, and can afford your product. That is the basic whole premise of sales, is find somebody who needs, wants, and can afford your product. If they need and want it but can't afford it, why are you talking to them? I hate to sound crass, but really, why? All you're doing now is wasting your time and their time. And let's face it, time is the most precious commodity that we have, because we can't make it, remanufacture, or take it back. We're all here for a certain limited amount of time. And the less we waste it, the more we get to use it for our own benefits, right? So the first thing is okay, can they afford my product? Yes. Do they need my product? And there's a big difference between need and want. I'm sure you know that. You're going to be finding your perfect client. I may want a Lamborghini. Yeah. But I need a car.
Yeah. That's right.
So there's that big, I can't afford a Lamborghini, but I could probably afford a nice car, And so there's that whole thing of needing and wanting. And that's really what you have to find. And that's your ideal client, somebody who either needs, wants, and can afford your product. And I would say need would be the number one thing. Do they need it?
So do you have a process to really understand all of those aspects of the client within within your program?
Yes, we do. Well, I go through a process that I call CAP, and it's an acronym. It's for Customer Approval Protocol. And what it is, it's based on questioning techniques. Sales is all about questioning. You never give statements, you only give questions. And once you've given a question, your biggest challenge, and I know as salespeople or business people, sales professionals, we love to talk. And I've seen so many salespeople talk themselves right out of the sale. Because while they're talking, they're missing all the closing signals. They're missing all the, please just ask me for the order so I can give it to you.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, where do I sign? But no, they just keep on talking. And the best way, as far as I'm concerned, with sales is you have to ask very poignant, effective questioning techniques. And that's where you find all your research. Also, when you go in for the first time to see a client, I always tell my people the absolute worst thing you can do during the first meeting is sell. You're not there to sell. The first meeting is only to gather information. That's it.
And it sounds so common sense, but common sense is not that common, right?
Oh, you found that out too, eh? Yeah, I've been at it for 40 years, Jürgen, and I don't know if Sheila mentioned it to you, but one of the little Joeisms, as they call them, that I have is I've been in sales for 40 years and I've yet to sell a single thing.
Mm-hmm.
All I get to do is get them to buy.
Yeah.
And I don't do that by manipulating or tricking or in any way, shape, or form make them buy the product. I just put their needs that I get to after the first meeting and lump them into my product, and then they make the decision, yeah, I really do need that product. And then I just go, all right, so what's our next step?
Yeah, I was reading something the other day that I thought was fascinating. It was around marketing, and I can't. It was one of the really well-known marketers that said this, but basically it was, if you've done a good job marketing, you don't need sales. And he was coming from the same point that you're making there, is really understanding the customer's needs and wants and making sure that what you have to offer is a good match for that, and you educate them about how you can help, and basically they decide themselves to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the same approach, isn't it?
It's kind of the same approach, but I'm going to vehemently disagree with the marketer. So you could have a really super bad marketing campaign, but if you've got a good sales team, they can sort of compensate for that.
Mm.
And you can have the most phenomenal marketing campaign, but if you have a bad sales team, they will destroy the marketing campaign. Because marketing is great, and I don't want to take away anything from marketing. I personally have somebody doing all my marketing because I want to leave my marketing to the experts. And even though I'm on the west coast of Canada, my marketing department is on the east coast of the United States seaboard in Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. And I have a young lady there who does all my marketing. I do the content, she does the marketing. But the thing is we've reached I do all the content again, but we reached the understanding is that I'm really good at sales and putting that together, but I need help with marketing.
Yeah.
She's really good at marketing and she don't want to do sales. So we got a perfect match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that, you've touched on something there that I think is really important for all business. So a lot of people go into business and they do everything themselves because until they get to a critical revenue, they feel as though they can't afford to outsource the things they're not good at. But you mentioned earlier about time and how precious time was. And I think there's something for everybody to consider is focus on the things you're good at, outsource the other stuff, because, the time you win by that, and also the effectiveness by getting experts to do what they're good at for you is just worth so much.
It boils down to, Jürgen, is are you working on your business or are you working in your business? And if you're working in your business, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because that time that you're spending in your business should be more focused on your business and building your business, which is why, for example, at the end of every month, I'm just getting it ready now, I got literally a big, massive envelope or shoebox, and I just give all my receipts to, again, another person that puts it all together, and within a week I get my full report back, my expenses, my revenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because I don't want to do that. Even though I could, and I do love numbers. Well, I'm in sales, so why wouldn't I love numbers, right? This is something that, you know what? I'll give it to somebody who can do it in a half hour where it takes me a day and a half to do it, and I hate doing it. That way, I can work on my content. I can work on possibly finishing my book. I can work on all sorts of other things that I want to work on.
Yeah, that's right. And as we're hearing, you've got so much expertise in the sales area and content and programs that you develop there. That's where you add value to your clients.
Exactly.
And so that's where every business should be focused on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, talk to us a little bit then about the high-rise program that you run.
Well, the high-rise program is pretty much what we do. Is the reason why I call it high-rise is because you go up floor by floor till you get to the penthouse.
Okay.
And that's where everybody wants to live, obviously, is on the penthouse.
Yeah.
And from there, I offshoot it to many different types of programs. I have a program that I run that's just for inside salespeople. The people that are, inundated with phone calls and customers walking into businesses, and how to get the most out of it. So I have a program specifically designed just for inside salespeople. And then, of course, I have a program that's designed for business owners. I have business owners that, I don't know about in Australia, but I'm telling you, there's some business owners in Canada that have no business being business owners, if you know what I mean. And I have no idea. They're just playing in business instead of playing on business. And so we go through a whole program as to get them geared up. And then I also obviously have a lot to do with sales professionals and how to take them. Basically, what I like to tell people is what I'll do is I'll take you from an average salesperson to a fairly good sales professional. And there is a major difference between salesperson and sales professional. And the sales professional, for example, does not take a no as a rejection. They just keep going. It's again, one less no I have to get today. A sales professional knows that the best sales call you could make in a day is the one that you don't. A salesperson will just make the call and do actually more harm by doing that call than saying, I'm just not ready for it. I myself, I've been in a parking lot of a call that I'm doing to a rather high quality client when I was working in my corporate life, and just saying to myself, you know what? I'm not ready to make this call. I'm not going to make this call. And I'll phone them up, and yes, I'll make up a little excuse like I'm stuck in traffic or something, but can we reschedule? Because I'm just not mentally prepared. So again, that's taking that salesperson and making them into a sales professional. So we work on it. It's about a 12-week program, and then we get them up to being a sales professional. And all we do, and you said it earlier, Jürgen, is a lot of it, people say to me, well, Joe, this is like just common sense. In which my response is always, well, if it's that common, then why aren't you doing it? And I get obviously a lot of embarrassed looks coming back to me, and okay. But it's just taking it and forming it. And I work a lot basically with behaviors. When I was a sales manager for a company coast to coast, I had 15 guys under me all the way across Canada, and that's a big landmass. It's the second largest landmass in the world. I never tracked numbers. Never really tracked numbers. What I tracked was behaviors. So what I really do teach in the high-rise concept is your behaviors. I have a weekly class I call the Action Suite, where the talking stops and the doing gets done. And I just had them do an exercise for the week. And the amount of feedback I got from my students saying, wow, I never realized. And then they went bang, 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 right? And and it's all to do with behaviors. Then I work. Sorry, go ahead, Yuri.
No, sorry, I was just going to say that I really like that concept of the Action Suite. I kind of saw that on some of your website material I was looking at, and I thought that's a really neat concept. And now that you've kind of described, working on the behaviors, I think that is so powerful.
It's all about behaviors, but it's also the major part of the action suite is I work on attitude. Because if you don't have the right attitude, you will never do the right behavior. They are linked. And then the third thing I really teach is the technique. And the technique comes from the behavior. But again, if you don't have the attitude, you'll never do the behavior. And by not doing the behavior, you'll never get the technique down.
That's right. And when people then say, well, the technique, that's common sense, what they're actually missing the other pieces, which, yes, it's common sense, but the other pieces are the reason they're not doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes it's very frustrating, but it's also very rewarding that the amount of success that I've had recently on the Action Suite with this group that I've got going right now. And we never go over 8 in the Action Suite. I like to keep it nice and small so we can really delve into some deep stuff. The successes I've gotten, it's just incredible. One lady went to Las Vegas to do a talk with her the group that she runs a wellness center, and in there she got into contacts with the head of the group in the UK, as well as continuing talks with the American group to involve her new program that she's got for data keeping. So she's made some phenomenal progress where when I started working with her almost a year ago now, she was in serious trouble, and now she's bleeding red, and now she's just in the black and doing so much better and going out there and creating these more opportunities for her and for her clinic. It's wonderful to see. I just love seeing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And isn't it great when you see those results from,
if it wasn't for the fact that you had to eat and pay bills and all that type of good stuff, I'd do it for free, just for the looks and the adulation and the joy that I see in people reaching for the stars and actually getting the stars. And I have one who says, Joe, you drive me crazy. And I go, why? Why would I be driving you crazy? She goes, every sales meeting I go to, I hear you inside of my head. Yeah. Don't forget to do this. Don't forget to do this. Come on, you're supposed to do this. And now she's just closing business left, center, and right. And again, it's just one of those things that I look at her and just go, yeah, well, yeah. Didn't think it would work.
Yeah, that's right. So, like you say, it does come back to fundamentally the behaviors and attitudes, and I really like that concept of the action group, and because it's got inbuilt accountability, but the other bit that working on the behaviors in that small group environment is really powerful. And I've just had an experience where we've done that ourselves in a little business summit that we run, where we went to the lovely place, a lovely island of Vanuatu, and similar sort of experience, working on behaviors and attitudes and really drilling down using a lot of metaphors and a lot of accelerated learning stuff, but then seeing the results come out of that is just so inspiring.
Oh, it is. And another thing I do is obviously I work one-on-one with people that want to work with me, and I've got clients in the United States that through Skype, we work one-on-one and get stuff done. And again, it's the same thing. And I work with a lot of what this one lady in the leadership track, where she got promoted and just didn't know how to handle her new promotion, because now she's been promoted to a leadership role and didn't quite know shall we say, the intricacies of being a leader. And now she's got everybody just absolutely working as a cohesive team. And when we started together, it was just somebody threw a grenade in there and just blew the thing up. And now it's everybody, all the ducks are in a row and everybody's getting along. We had a lot of different personalities in there, and just being able to work through that with her was an incredible achievement, and she's loving it. Her superiors are obviously loving it. They're looking at her to move even up quicker because of her leadership capabilities and qualities in the organization. So, again, another one of those times, Jürgen, where you go, God, if it wasn't for those bills, I would have done this.
Yeah, that's right. But on the other hand, there's a school of thought that says if people don't pay for something, then they place less value on it, which impacts on the behavior in some ways. So,
it does.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I never make, shall we put it this way? I don't know if that makes me an old softy or not, even though I call myself the Simon Cowell of business development and training, in the fact that when you join things like the Action Suite, or when you work with me, don't expect a nice, gentle, way to go, attaboy, just keep on going, everything will be fine. No. I don't do warm and fuzzy. I'll let you know when you're not doing it correctly or you're screwing it up, and I'll let you know when you're doing it right. And that's just the way it works with me, and that's what I find a lot of people are missing. They want all the fuzzy wuzzy, and they don't want anybody to tell them you're screwing up. At the end of the day, you are screwing up. But getting back to it, I never want money to be put in the way of somebody working with me. And I've done some very creative, shall we say, management when that goes, because my philosophy has always been, when you can finally be successful enough that you can afford it, you'll be paying full ticket for it.
Yeah.
Until then, let me make you successful enough so you can afford it. So I get people to do other things like, hey, go onto social media and say how great the Action Suite is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So get them to...
But you're right. There's no skin in the game whatsoever, there's no accountability. And one thing on the Action Suite that we believe in is a ton of accountability. Not just for myself, but from group members themselves. Group members will call out other group members.
Yeah, it's great when you get a community like that supports one another and can call out when things are not right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better coming from your peer than it is from me.
That's right. And it saves you time, right? Because you know that they've got the message when they're teaching others.
Exactly.
So, it occurred to me before something you said a little earlier around, being gentle and people not wanting to hear feedback that is basically, hey, you're not doing this right. It essentially comes back to the point, if it's not working, then how can you expect it to be different if you don't change what you're doing? Yeah.
What's the definition of insanity, Jürgen?
That's right, yeah. Keep doing the same thing, expect a different result.
Yeah. I've had people that have blatantly just come right out and says, your way of doing is just not going to work. And I'm going, okay, fine. And we've discovered that your way of doing it's not working. Yeah. That's why you're talking to me. So how about this? How about you try my way and see what happens? Because your way is definitely not working. And then they try it my way, and then they come crawling back with their tail stuck between their legs. And, damn it, it worked.
Well, at least they tried, gave it a try, and realized that it was better than what they were doing.
Yeah, I had one where it was quite funny. He phoned me up and he said, your program is bleep, 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 bleep. And I said, okay, what makes you say that? Thanks for the feedback, but what makes you say that? Well, it didn't work with this guy, and walk me through the steps. What happened? So I did this. Okay, good. And then I did this. Okay, good. And then I did this. All right, so far we're 3 for 3. There's 5 steps. And then nothing happened. All right, so what happened to step 4 and step 5? Well, I don't think they were necessary, so I didn't do them. Oh, I see. So my program doesn't work because you won't put it fully into your plan. Well, no, it just doesn't work. No. You did 3 of the 5. You were doing okay on the first 3. You didn't do the whole thing. So why is it my fault? Common sense.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned earlier about behavior, and it's one of the principles that I'm sort of heavily into NLP and NLP trained, and one of the principles there is around having behavioral flexibility. So essentially it's if something's not working, you've got to make a change. And of course,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then, being aware of when things are on track and when things are not on track, so that when is it time to try something different or adjust.
Yeah, which is why I never track numbers. I always track behaviors, because if you're doing the right behavior, your numbers will come.
Yeah, I love it. So what are some of the questions? You talked earlier about that sales is not about telling people things, it's about asking questions. What are some of the questions that you'd recommend people should be asking?
Well, obviously the open-ended questions versus the closed questions. Open-ended, of course, is questions that make people think. Again, it's just distinguishing between the sales pro and the sales man or woman who just goes in and it's, how is your day? How this is a really stretch of good weather we've been having. I tell my people, you know what? Never, ever, ever discuss the weather. Ever discuss the weather. It's the worst thing you can do. Okay. You basically go in and you start asking questions about the prospect. Obviously, you've done some research. You better have done research. The number one question that'll kill a sales quicker than anything else, including you're fat and you're ugly, will kill a sale today is, so Jürgen, tell me what you do.
Yeah.
That is the worst question.
It says you haven't done the research.
You haven't done any research. I don't respect Jürgen enough to do research. I don't respect your company. I know nothing about you. How do I know you even need and want and can afford my product? It's just a killer. So the first thing you got to do is you got to open up the bonding and rapport section of the sales process, which is number 2. After you find someone who wants, needs, and can afford your product, is building the bond and rapport. Is you go into their office or into their company, you look around right away. You see a picture of a sailboat. Oh, you sail? And you get them to start talking about sailing. They'll eventually ask you if you've ever sailed, and this is what I tell people, is if you've never sailed, don't tell them you sail. Because nothing will diminish trust quicker than you bull-faced lie right at the start.
Yeah.
Okay? You can always say, no, I've never sailed, but I would love to. One day I would love to be out on a sailboat. What's it like? People love to talk about themselves. And while they're talking, you are actively listening, not just hearing, but actively listening for any clues, anything that you don't know that you can now file away. All of a sudden he mentions a wife and the family and there's no pictures whatsoever. Oh, how many kids have you got? Oh, 2. How old are they? Take interest in them. People love talking about themselves. And this, again, is the first meeting, is you go in and gather all this information. You talk to them about, all right, what are the long-range goals of your firm? You ask him how he's competing against the competition. You know, if you've done the research, who his competition is. What makes you better than ABC and XYZ? Why are you dominating the market versus them? Man, they'll talk your ear off on that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're making notes like crazy and you're finding a gap. Then you use, certain words like, if you could just change one thing, what would it be? Again, all you're doing is gathering information in a very kind of non-threatening, open. I tell people making a sales call in somebody's office, you just pretend you're in your backyard having a barbecue and they happen to be one of your guests.
Yeah.
And just make it relaxed.
And that makes it a lot less daunting too, doesn't it? And like you say, if your attitude is such that, if they say no to whatever I'm selling, that's just one additional no for my list. So you don't take it personally. Then you can relax and you can ask those questions. And I love the, if you could change one thing question, because that straight away starts to, the answer to that starts to give you hints about, well, what are some of the needs and wants?
What are his challenges?
Yeah.
And then you question him on that, because the first thing they give you is not necessarily the right thing. And then you just, oh, that's interesting, Jürgen. Can you tell me can you just enlighten me a little bit more about why that's the one thing you want to change? So now you open up even a little more, okay? And then, whoa, okay. Therefore, it would be really important to you if we change that. Well, no, not really. There's, other things that I'd like to change. Oh, for example, what else?
So
just get them.
Yeah. So the structure of that is beautiful, because what you're doing is you're digging deeper into one aspect and you're reflecting back to the people. Okay, so if we solve this problem, it would mean a lot to you, or reflecting back what you've heard and checking, and then you chunk back up and go crosswise. So you go broader again. What else is there? So and then if the answer to what else is, well, let's say there's this problem as well that I'd love to fix, then you dig deeper on that one again. So you just keep repeating that process. Yeah, I love that framework.
And you really want to get 3 on the table, because once you've got 3 on the table, the third one is really the one that's the most critical. Okay, and that's the one you really want to dig in deep to.
Yeah.
People don't just come out and tell you their problems, They
and the other
give
thing,
you surface.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jürgen.
The other thing I like to do on that is keep asking why, which you have to do really cleverly, because you can appear like a what's the right word? Well, PIA.
4-year-old.
Yeah. Well, 4-year-old, but the 4-year-olds, that's how they learn. So as adults, we have the 4-year-olds going, why? And you, at some point, you get frustrated and you say, I'll stop with the why stuff. But you shouldn't be doing that. You should be encouraging them. So, I like to do whys. And, there's a great exercise that I've adapted from the Kaizen methodology of quality control that the Japanese developed, where they had 5 whys to really dig into the root cause of a problem. And you can do that kind of thing with, why is that particular issue important? Or
Hey, if labor laws would allow it, I'd hire a ton of 4-year-olds to run a sales department.
Yeah.
Because they really are the best at it.
Yeah.
But labor laws, unfortunately, don't allow that.
That's right. So we have to let our inner 4-year-old come out.
Yes. That's what I tell people. You got to be a 4-year-old. You change the why to something else to mean exactly the same thing. Like, you can't be why, because like you say, people just say, oh, quit it with the whys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just digging in deeper. And the deeper you can get, the better you can get at it. And again, it's a behavior, it's a habit that takes time to change. You know, and that's why on the high-rise concept, you're with me for 12 weeks, because it's going to take a long time for all of these behaviors to intermesh, because we're going to change some nasty bad habits. And that's basically how I work, just changing behaviors. That's or as Sheila said, that's why my sales process is not icky.
Yeah, that's right. She did mention that. Okay,
I heard the interview.
Well, this has been absolutely fabulous. I could go on for ages, but I think it's time we moved on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience, who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field, with some tips from your experience. So we've got 5 questions that we ask every guest, and hopefully we'll get some great answers from you.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Yeah, so what's the number one thing you think anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
Work on their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Creativity is something that actually can be learned. It's thinking outside the box. It's just spitballing and anything goes. And it's quite amazing that when you let your mind just go and spitball it, the kind of answers you actually get.
Yeah, I love that you said creativity can be learned. I'm not quite sure I understand spitballing. That must be a Canadian term.
Brainstorming.
Okay, yeah. We know brainstorming.
There you go.
Great. All right, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas or new products?
The best thing I've done is I've got mentors and coaches that I work with. Any coach that you decide to work with who does not have a coach is not a coach for you. Coaches need coaches in order to help them. And the best thing that I can do is I take my ideas and I tell one of my mentors or one of my coaches says, look, can we just work 15 to 20 minutes on brainstorming this one idea I'm thinking of doing? And we just go back and forth on it and challenge each other with, responses and nothing is ever a bad idea. God, somebody once talked us into buying rocks as pets. How can anything we come up with be crazier than the pet rock?
That's right. Great advice, yeah. And I love the analogy. Yeah. All right. What's your favorite tool or system for improving your own productivity and allowing you to be more innovative?
Reading. I'm a ferocious reader. Regardless of what time I get home or I decide to go to bed, if I'm not picking up a book, I just can't sleep. Be it that I just do maybe 5 or 10 pages that particular evening, it doesn't matter. Be it fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't matter. Yes, I read nonfiction. Sometimes I go off in a great fantasy world because every once in a while you do have to give your mind a break from business and developing and creativity and all that. You just want to be silly. Yeah. So I've got favorite authors that allow me to just be completely silly.
All right. That's great advice. Yeah. I think reading is something that is in today's world tends to get pushed aside a little bit, and it's really sad. I mean, I love reading. I listen to audio books and like you, I look at and listen to fiction quite a lot. So
yeah, I love reading. It's just it's an escape mechanism, and even if it's a business book, it is still an escape mechanism for me.
All right, what's the best way to keep a project or a client on track? I think we might have already answered this one.
Well, to keep up, okay. I've done a blog on this, and it's called The True Follow-Up. And to keep a client happy and to keep a client, your client forever, what you have to do is what we call what I call the true follow-up. Follow-up, people say, okay, well, you follow up. Well, getting or returning a phone call or giving a proposal or doing any of those things, that's expected. That's what you have to do in order to make sure you have a client. What I call the true follow-up is all that stuff that happens after the sale. And people forget the after the sale follow-up. It's good enough to fill a bathtub full of water, but if you don't put the stopper in, the bathtub is going to drain real quickly. Okay? So the true follow-up is not only putting the stopper in, but it's to make sure that the water's at the right temperature, that you have bath towels once you get out of the bath, if you put in some scented bubbles or whatever, candles going, Sarah McLachlan in the background, whatever, but that's the true follow-up. It's everything that happens after the water hits the bathtub.
Yeah, love the analogy. Yeah, I didn't see that blog post, but I'll go looking for that afterwards, and we'll link to it in the show notes as well for the audience to read. All right. What's the number one thing you think anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
That's a $64 million question. Part of my program is called the DUMB principle, D-U-M-B. And I always say the dumber you are, the more successful you'll ever be. And obviously it's an acronym. It stands for different, unique, believable, and memorable, or memorable and believable. And in order to differentiate yourself, the number one thing you can do is, first of all, work on your own self. Work on your attitude to be completely different than anyone else. If there's one absolute piece of advice that I can give your audience, Jürgen, is something that was taught to me a long, long time ago, and I know it made one big difference in my career, is every call you go into, you have to go in with the attitude of overabundance. I don't need you, you need me. That is the attitude you must go in with, because it takes all the pressure off you. And hey, there were many times where I was desperate in my younger days where I really needed it. But when I went in with the whole attitude is, you need me, I don't need you, and you have that attitude of overabundance, you can't believe the amount of pressure that comes off you and how much at ease you are and how much easier it is to ask the real tough question.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think, being yourself, but really knowing yourself and your attitudes and how you can bring that attitude of abundance in a way that best serves the person you're working with and also allows you to ask the tough questions. That's really
absolutely
great. All right. Now, what's the future for you and for your business then? You mentioned a book earlier.
Yeah, I'm attempting to write a book. I've been asked by many, many people, including my marketing department, to write a book. So I am, currently in the midst of writing a book. It's all on leadership. And the working title of the book is Where Have the Great Leaders Gone? Because that's what I find there's a big void today.
Yeah.
There is no Martin Luther King out there. There is no John F. Kennedy. There's no Mahatma Gandhi. There's Winston Churchill. There's none of those people out there anymore. Where did they go?
Yeah. All right. Sounds fascinating. I look forward to that one. Okay. This has been really great, Joe. I've really enjoyed this. Now, where can people reach out and say thank you for what you've shared?
The best way would be my website, which is simply Joe Da Silva, JoeDaSilva.ca. And that's my website. There they can read my blogs, listen to my podcasts, see my videos. I have a YouTube channel also, and all the links are on the website. So instead of giving you all my social media links, just go to the website. That is the best place, and I'd love everybody to reach out, and I always respond to any message that I get.
Great. And we'll link to that in the show notes as well, so people can just click through. All right. What's the number one piece of advice you'd give to any business owner who wants to be a leader in innovation and in their field?
Well, join the Action Suite. The number one piece of advice that I could give any business owner would be that you are in a business and you can't see the forest for the tree because you're too focused on a tree and you can't see all those other trees that are surrounding you. Get some coaching, get some mentoring, get somebody from the outside to look at your business, to look at you, and to get you to take a look at some of the forest instead of just concentrating on that one tree.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I'd certainly echo that. That's definitely made a huge difference to my business when I got a really good coach who I'm still working with after about 8 years now. And like you said earlier, in terms of testing ideas with them and making sure that you're not way off track or you're not doing distraction is the one thing I tend to. That's one of my escape strategies, and my coach calls me out on that quite a lot.
Yeah, it's having that coach, Jürgen, that will call you out. I mean, I've had ideas where I've taken to my mentors and my coaches, and they just look at me with a blank stare in their eyes and go, "Were you drinking last night?"
All right, great stuff. All right, finally, Joe, who would you like me to interview on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
I gave this some thought, and I really feel that there's this lady that I know, and she has just got the most incredible story, and she works with women, primarily with women, in getting them through a lot of their baggage and a lot of their trauma. And I know she's been a great help to me also in the fact that her and I are friends, and I've bent her ear many times. She's a phenomenal speaker, has toured Canada and United States giving talks on subjects about your real why and knowing why you are the way you are. Her name is Carol Metz-Murray. And like I said, phenomenal stuff, what she's gone through in her own life and the challenges she's had it. I'm a phenomenal believer, Jürgen, of you have to be able to talk your walk. Okay. And Carol is the type of person like myself. I never teach anything, or I never give anybody any advice unless I've done it first, or I've coached somebody through it first. I want to be able to have expertise on it. And Carol is the type of person that has expertise on so many things in life that I feel that your audience would get a lot of benefit talking to Carol.
Okay, that's great. Well, Carol, if you're listening to this, we'll reach out to you and get you on the podcast courtesy of Joe Da Silva. So thanks so much, Joe, for sharing your time and your insights with us today. This has been really fascinating. I've loved some of the stories. I've loved the metaphors that you've used, and the approach, I think, is really obviously proven. You mentioned a moment ago that you only teach what you've tested yourself or had people you've coached have succeeded with it. So it's really valuable information. I hope, audience, that you've got a lot out of this. I've certainly got a lot out of it. I wish you all the best, Joe, for the future, and let's keep in touch.
You bet, Jürgen. Thank you ever so much for the opportunity. I've enjoyed it. I can't believe how quickly our time has gone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you learned from that interview with Joe and will apply what you've learnt in your business. There's a lot of great ideas and tips that Joe shared with us about sales and how to approach sales in a way that it's not icky. And all those ideas that Joe shared with us can be found at innovabiz.co/Joe Da Silva. That is JoeDasilva, all lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/Joe Da Silva. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Joe there, as well as a link to his website. Joe suggested I interview Carol Metz-Murray, a business empowerment coach, on a future InnovaBuzz podcast. So Carol, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Joe Da Silva. Stay connected. Head on over to iTunes or Stitcher or Pocket Casts and subscribe to the InnovaBuzz podcast so you make sure you'll never miss another episode. We'd also love you to leave us a review, because what you think matters. Take some of the ideas you've heard today and apply them in your business. Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions or questions, share them in the comments below the blog post. And remember, if you want to get better marketing results than you ever have, join our fantastic LinkedIn community at the Transformational Marketing Academy. All you have to do is go to innovabiz.co/TMAC. It's free to join. Hope to see you there soon. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz. Remember to be awesome and keep innovating.